Last time, on the quest to get good, I got a basic set of gear for my Fury Warrior and stepped into Rated Solo Shuffle for the first time. Now, in this episode, I continue my journey by fighting my way up the ladder. Well, about that. So the first episode took me so long to make that in that time I recorded a lot of footage, something like 25 hours. Turns out Solo Shuffle is incredibly addicting. Who knew the only thing keeping me from doing non-stop, aside from queues, rated PvP was having to socially interact with people. There's no way I could go through it all. So instead, I thought it might be the best to just focus on the mistakes I made, and maybe a few fun highlights along the way. This is the quest to get good after all, not the quest to watch me hit things until they die. And to get good, I gotta figure out what I'm doing bad. Now, my last episode got a lot of positive responses, as well as a ton of advice, which I'm very grateful for. A lot of this advice had to do with my UI. You'll be happy to know that I have decluttered my UI somewhat, mostly by adjusting the cooldown tracking add-ons to show a lot less information. I also did download Gladius, as well as Gladiator Losa, which, don't worry, I won't be subjecting you to that. However, since basically all of this was recorded before the release of my first episode, you won't really be seeing any of the changes. But let's not worry about UI stuff for now. I got mistakes to show you. Not interrupting or spell reflecting. Screwing up my opener. Not paying attention to my health. Not trinketing the Cyclone so I can get healed. Attacking the Demon Hunter, who was standing in darkness, using blur and pain suppress. Not using defensives. Not trinketing. Not breaking fear of Berserker Rage. Leaving Priest Barrier. Not using Rallying Cry. Trinketing fear instead of using Berserker Rage. Not stunning or using Rallying Cry to save my teammate. I don't know why the Demon Hunter is immune, but keep attacking them anyways. Not using Rallying Cry again. Not using all my defensives again. Not standing in the darkness. Trying to Rallying Cry and Trinket at the same time. Okay, this one's a bit weird, but basically my Trinket is bound to my mouse buttons, which correspond to the numpad, and Rallying Cry is bound to Shift Q. And if you didn't know, Shift toggles the numlock key, which functionally disables my mouse buttons, so mashing Shift Q while also trying to Trinket just causes it to not work. I just need to be more decisive with my button pressing to not have this occur again. Oh, and also if you ever have the issue where you just start spinning uncontrollably mid-fight, it's related to that. Just combine your arrow keys to fix it. Not helping the rogue kill the Demon Hunter in the smoke bomb. Not getting out of the smoke bomb and trying to attack the rogue while they're evading. Ignoring Sky Fury Totem, I didn't know what it was at the time. Not swapping targets on the pain suppression and helping the monk kill the shaman. Trying to chase after the priest even though they are far away and out of line of sight instead of swapping to their teammates. Not stunning the shaman to try and stop them from deleting the mage. Trying to use Intimidating Shout to fear the mage even though they're definitely out of range. Oh cool, the priest is dead. Hey, why hasn't the round ended yet?
Witchcraft.
I didn't know what the static totem did. I have no idea what this flame wreath looking spell is, and I have no idea what these purple circles are either. Popping my big DPS buttons while everyone is under the priest barrier. Not spell reflecting the sheep. Not doing full burst rotation. Leaping out of priest barrier. Like, why? Not fighting in the priest barrier again. Come on, it's right there. Just take 2 steps to your right. Not trinketing. Not using intervene or Rallying Cry. Not standing in the darkness or stunning an enemy to reduce pressure. Popping my burst on blurring Demon Hunter. Not using my defensives in time. Accidentally jumping off the bridge. Not paying attention to the other warrior CC usage. Should have swapped to the rogue instead of trying to attack the cocoon monk. Not using intervene to reduce damage on the healer. Why are you not standing in the barrier? Also not using Rallying Cry. Not reflecting Cyclone. Not using CC to keep the Resto Druid away from the Feral who is half dead. Not reflecting cyclone again. Not trinketing the cyclone. This monk is like the wind, and I spent way too much chasing them around the map. Continuing to attack them even after they are cocooned. Popping big cooldowns in an attempt to kill the rogue right after they vanished. Don't do this, it doesn't work. Fighting in the barrier, the enemy priest's barrier. Hey, fun little game for you watching. Figure out what I did wrong with this match. If your answer was, you have a dagger equipped, then congratulations, you win. Where is my other sword, you ask? Great question. I had vendored it by accident. I have no idea what Counter-Strike Totem does, but it sounds scary, so I killed it anyways. Actually wait, that was a good thing to do. Tunneling the shaman and not attempting to peel for the healer fast enough. Oh hey, I finally remembered Spell Reflect. Not using all my defensives again. Oh yeah, for a couple weeks I decided to try out Spear of Bastion, since I thought it would be good to keep people in place and to help peel. Let me show you how well that went for me. I eventually went back to Roar. Trinketing the fear instead of using Berserker Rage, again. Not keeping track of charges. Attacking it to die by the sword. Running right into Earthgrub Totem. Doing it again. Not intervening the rogue or CCing one of the enemies to reduce their damage taken. Breaking the sap. Being a bit too zug-zug and leaving my healer on the other side of the map. Not trinketing so I can attempt to save my teammates. I'm on to you this time, witch. You won't fool me again. Soon as you come out of that, I'll be right on top of you. Aha! Gotcha!
Nope.
Leaping across the map away from my healer. Using Spear after I use my big cooldowns. Not trusting my healer in fleeing combat. Attacking into savage defense. Why am I running away? Leaping out of range of my provoker healer. Not reacting fast enough to polymorph. Not trinketing the root, which would have likely allowed me to finish off the mage. Not kicking or stunning the mage. Trying to chase the rogue instead of swapping to the demon hunter. Chasing the mage round when I should have just swapped to the demon hunter. Chasing the evoker around instead of swapping to the priest. Why am I attacking the squids? What do they even do? Not trinketing the trap and helping out my teammate. Using interrupt on the wrong spell. Using fear pointlessly. I have no idea what this big green circle does, but I'm just gonna stand in it anyways. Not using Spell Reflect fast enough to reduce the lock burst. Hitting a pet with my mouse over Stormbolt macro. Attacking into evasion. What am I even doing here? Why? Didn't kick Polly. Hit the pet with the mouse over Stormbolt macro again. Should not be leaping to my healer. Not reacting quick enough to reflect the cyclone. Not standing in darkness and helping the demon hunter attack the rat. Chasing the holy pally around the pillar instead of swapping to the devoker. Changing targets for basically no reason. Running off on my own instead of sticking with my team. So as you can tell, I have a problem in deciding which target to stick to and often wander off to whack on the healer bit instead of helping my team members out. So that's one of the things I need to stop doing. Other things I need to get better at is using Stormbolt more, which only has a 30-second cooldown and should really be used way more often than I tend to use it. As well as Spell Reflect, which has a 25-second cooldown and is my only real defensive against casters. Oh, by the way, did you know that warriors can use Leap over Ring of Frost? I didn't, until right here, where I decided what the heck and tried it, and it worked. And do you know what I did with this newly acquired and very useful bit of information? I promptly threw it into the void. My brain be like that sometimes. Now that isn't to say it was all failures. I did slowly learn over time and did in fact improve on a lot of things. Waiting for disarm to use my big DPS cooldowns. Dodging the Earth Grab totem. Trying to lure the enemy to a more optimal position. Remembering to use my trinket and using Berserker Rage to break fears. Luring the hunter into an opportune spot. Keeping track of my healer's location so I don't line of sight them. I know leaping to them is usually bad, but in this case it actually saved my life and won us the round. Stormbolting the healer at a good time. Reflecting the sheep. Reflecting polymorph again. Remembering defensive stance is a thing that I should use sometimes. Taking advantage of dumb rogues. Running up to my target and slowing instead of charging right out of the gate. Reflecting Cyclone. Reflecting Hex. Here, we have an example of me actually attacking the same target as my teammate and killing them. It's that easy. Just attack the same target as my teammate. No, really, it's that easy. Just hit them until they die. Don't worry about the healer. Just keep whacking away at them. Don't worry if it doesn't look like their health is going down. Healer's running out of cooldowns and mana. Maybe throw a Stoneboard if it's off cooldown. Just keep whacking them. It's that easy. Really, it's just that easy. Just whack them until they die. With your teammate, it's that easy. Oh yeah, and at some point I remembered that I could spell Reflect Frost Trap. So here's me predicting that the hunter was trying to lure me into their trap, so I Uno reverse carded them. And that isn't even all of it. I still had like 3 more folders with like 12 hours combined recordings left that I took one look at and went, nah. So instead of going over them in detail, I picked out some of the more fun matches that stood out in my memory to show you, such as this match.
Yeet. 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 Yoink. Yeet. Yi. Yoink. Eat. 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 Monkey eat. Eat.
This match.
Gaining tide. Thunderstorm.
He left out for the third round. This match with 2 demon hunters. Let me give you a quick summary of how that went.
Meow. 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 Meow.
This round, where me and the Holy Pally desperately chased each other around the ramp. And finally, this match, where the arms warrior just really had it out for the survival hunter's pet, and everyone else caught on. Then it became a game of killing the pet over and over again, keeping the hunter from rezzing it at all costs. I'm not really sure what he's saying, but he was clearly unhappy with the situation. I'd say the highlight of the match was when the provoker just straight up shoved me through the pillar, which allowed me to kick the revive pet, forcing the hunter to pop aspect of the turtle to get the cast off. As this was all going down, I was steadily improving my gear, some from the vault, some from the vendors. I even made Infurious helm and boots for myself. I don't have the tier set bonus, but I'm not sure how good it is for Fury, and I don't know if it's worth losing some versatility over. While farming sparks via dirt, I even came across a weapons chain, but for some reason, instead of using it to tie his sword to his hand, my warrior decided to, of all things, consume it for his knowledge. So no disarm immunity for me, I guess. These are my talents. I actually have 3 sets, which are all the same, but swapping between Shattering Throw, Wrecking Throw, which I never remember to use, and Pain and Gain, depending on which classes are in my enemy's team. I would say that my build is more on the tanky side rather than the damage dealing side, seeing as I chose to grab Rallying Cry with Inspiring Presence and the Leech talent. PvP talents I use are Slaughterhouse, which reduces the healing of my target, Warbringer, which I like to use to help heal as well as act as a finisher for enemies trying to escape, and the last talent I tend to swap between Disarm if there's melee, Blood Rage if the enemy team is ranged and root heavy, and Enduring Rage or Battle Trance if the other 2 situations don't apply. I also got my second Vicious mount ever, which I was very excited for until I saw how janky its run animation was. Sorry kitty, I'm going to stick to my fabulous black and red unicorn. Also, I noticed a few weeks later that I got a Vicious Gorm for some reason, so make that 3 Vicious mounts. For my plan laid out in episode 1, I would say that I have a pretty good grasp of my rotation and cooldowns. I still make mistakes and hesitate a bit sometimes, but I'd say I'm about 80% of the way there. As the games went on and I found flaws in my setup, I created macros to help. For example, I had initially made a mouse over macro for Stormbolt so I could stun someone other than my target, but after finding myself constantly stunning pets by mistake, I instead made target macros and then Stormbolt macros that used Arena 123. I made similar macros for Intervene, but still find myself just manually targeting and hitting the non-macroed button. But to get out of this habit, I have come up with a very simple solution. Other macros I made include one for Berserker stance and defensive stance, so I don't accidentally go stanceless when I click the button twice, as well as macroing Bitter Immunity of Rallying Cry for it to heal more. As I mentioned earlier, I have also been slowly adding additional add-ons and adjusting them to show me only information that I care about, such as enemy defensives and major DPS abilities. As of me making this video, my rating is at 1705 after 776 rounds, with my highest rating being 1761 after a win streak. At which point, I got pitted against actually good players and got punted back down to 1500 where I belonged, and had to work my way back up. I found that sometimes, whether you win or lose is outside of your control. I ran into several games where rounds were won or lost simply from someone not hitting defensive in time. Other games had players making bizarre decisions, such as this game, where the one priest healer was obsessed with my controlling the other healer, leaving his hunter to die by our blades. Or another game, where the healer suddenly went AFK. Since I can't really control what my teammates do, I just have to work on improving myself to try and make up for their shortcomings, and to take advantage of good teammates instead of dragging them down. I also really need to work on my class knowledge. Going into this, I didn't even know half of what each class did, and how they worked, and I still don't. Doesn't help that all the classes just got a massive overhaul. However, with the experience I have acquired combined with me browsing the options in add-ons such as Gladiator Losa, I have gained quite a bit of knowledge. For example, did you know that in Rage Regeneration actually reduces your damage taken by 30% and can be used while stunned, and isn't just a button that heals you slightly and gives you Empower Leech with Bloodthirst? You want to know how many rounds I went before realizing that? 776. Look, there's a reason I picked the Smooth Brain class to start out this journey. Okay, so I want to make the second half of this video about me planning ways to counter other classes, but this video is taking me too long to make, so instead I'm just going to cut straight to the experimentation and leave that for episode 3. During some of the fights, I noticed some interesting interactions with some abilities. For example, here I noticed Warlocks trying to teleport out a spear and failing, but here it almost looks like it worked. I read on Reddit that it is possible if you jump out and time it right, so I want to test that in a more controlled environment using my second account, gotta justify paying for 2 accounts somehow, and see what else works on getting out of spear. First we do a control to make sure the spear works, since my other warrior is 10 levels below me. As you can see, it pulls me back, but after a couple of attempts, I do manage to get out of it. After some more practice, I found the timing. I basically just have to jump out and hit Heroic Leap right when it's going to pull me back. And with luck, I will get the timing and be free. Attempting the same thing with Warlock, I found the same strategy applies. Leaping out and timing the teleport right as the spear starts to pull you back. However, a much easier way to get out of the spear as a Warlock is to use the portal. It works every time so long as the end portal is far enough away. Other abilities I tested were Blade Storm, doesn't work. Die by the Sword, only works if you get hit by the spear with it up. Anti-Magic Shell works. Death's Advance works. Wraith Walk doesn't work. Aspect of the Turtle works. Disengage doesn't work, but I may have just not timed it right. Talented Retreat doesn't work. Blessing of Freedom doesn't work. Blessing of Protection works. Bubble works. Deep Breath works. Verdant Embrace works, but you need to time it right. Transcendence works, but you also need to time it right. Next, I noticed on a few occasions that stunning a target who's using evasion or die by the sword lets me hit them. I also want to test if I can hit the target from behind, since usually you can't dodge, parry, or block attacks when they come from behind. I had to switch characters for this test, since the supposed 100% parry or dodge chance doesn't work with a 10 level difference. But before switching tunes, I did test Stormbolt, and indeed you can use to stun warriors using die by the sword. So now I have one of my pallies. First the control. Then the stun. And oh look, I can hit them while they're stunned. And now let's go behind them. And oh look, I can hit them from behind even though they're supposed to be parrying 100% of my abilities. I'll try the same thing with a rogue using evasion, and it also works. You can hit an evading rogue if they are stunned or you are behind them. Also want to know if Cloak of Shadows affects Stormbolt and Intimidating Shout in any way, and no, it doesn't. I also tried the experiment with my Demon Hunter using Blur, but Blur is only a 50% dodge, so unless I get a large sample size and do math, which I'm not going to do, it's inconclusive. I also tested Shatter on Netherwalk, and it didn't work. Did the same test with my monk with Talented Fist of Fury, and same rules still apply. Also want to know if you can do anything to stop Bladestorm, and no, you can't. And last of all, does Stormbolt, Fear, and Shatter work on Blessing of Protection? The answer is no, no, and yes. Okay, third test has to do with Ring of Frost. Yes, you can Heroic Leap over Ring of Frost, also the Fire Ring ability. And just because I felt like it, if you're playing a Death Knight, you can AMS out of Ring of Frost too. Last set of tests, wanted to try some things with Spell Reflect. First off, can you Spell Reflect Stormbolt? No. Secondly, can you Spell Reflect the Directly Your Sleep spell? Yes. Okay, that's enough for this episode. Sorry no speed drawings, I forgot to record one. I'll do one next time. Some people have advised me to make more recyclable art pieces, and I'm definitely going to look into that. I'm hoping to hit 1800 in the next episode, and hopefully have the next episode out in less time than this one. I actually took a several week-long break from PvP, so I wouldn't have a huge backlog of footage to sort through, like what happened with this episode. It's going to be interesting to see what's happened to the meta since then. If you like my art, I have social media. I don't actually use it that much, but it's something I want to improve on as well, so it's there if you're interested. Bye.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
Serenity. Invoke soon. Power infusion. Shadow Blade.